Hello everyone. Today we're in the shop and we're going to create what I'm going to call the DIY no rip, no dado bottom board, solid bottom board. This is going to be a Langstroth solid bottom board, and it'll be super simple, and there'll be no dados and no ripping. Okay, we'll just have cross cut. That's the rules. We can only do cross cuts. Okay, first, let's look at the original solid bottom board. Remember in a previous video we talked about this, and you have a piece of wood here that has a dado in it, and you have this 3/4 inch piece of wood in the middle here, and then it's reversible. So this is 3/4, this is the summer side, and this is 3/4, and then you can turn it over, and then this is 3/8 here, so this is the winter side. Now no one ever turns it over because it's a lot of bother to actually turn your bottom board over. So this one has the dado there, and then it's 3 pieces of wood inserted into the dado, and this board back here has a dado in it as well, so this piece of wood is inserted into there. And since there's a dado on both sides here, then you have to have this rabbet joint here where you have to cover up where the dado is on both sides. So to build this, you have to be able to cut this with a dado, this piece with a dado, or a saw or a band saw where you can make an L shape there. You can also do it, I suppose, on a router. A lot of people don't have these kinds of tools. Now let's take a quick look at my last project, which is the no dado do-it-yourself, no dado solid bottom board. This is inspired by Michael Palmer in the National Honey Show speech that he made. And essentially the idea here is that there's no dado, and there's no special joints. It's just a butt joint. And then you have the rail here that's 1.5 inches, and then a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and then you just have something here that supports it. And so it's super simple. The one thing about this that could be a problem is cutting this piece of plywood square. So if you buy a piece of plywood, a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you got to have a lot of room to cut it, and I'm not very talented. I've had trouble getting this square, and the way that I finally was able to do it, I had to build a jig for it and a saw guide for it. And so this can be problematic if you try to cut this piece of plywood and you don't get it square, then everything is all messed up. So this design, no dado, no ripping, is a combination of the original, which has 3 pieces of wood in here, and we're going to take those 3 pieces of wood and we're going to replace the plywood with the 3 pieces of wood, and that will change some of our dimensions a little bit, but we'll do the same kind of thing. We'll put the wood across here like this. We'll have this as the support. This will be 1.5 inches. This will be 3/4. And let me show you the wood real quick. This is the wood I got. I got it from the coal stack at Lowe's, and I hope it'll work. I haven't actually built this yet, but I hope it will work. This is 7¼ inches this way. So 3 of these will be 21¾ inches, and then we'll cut it to width. Now 21¾ is just a tad different than the original. So the original total length is, the original total length is 21¾ But our inside dimension here is going to be 21 3/4. So then we're going to have another 3/4 for that back piece back in the back. So that's going to be 22.5. So we're going to be a little bit longer, but as long as you're just using them at home, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit longer. Now, it might be an issue if you're going to try to ship them somewhere and you want them to fit on a pallet or whatever. That might be an issue. But for us hobby beekeepers, DIY, it won't matter if it's a little bit long. It'll just stick out here. All right, I'm going to go and cut the pieces and I'll show you. I have my trusty 16.25 inch saw stop. This cut is 21.75. You get bowed wood when you buy stuff from the coal stack. So wasn't real happy with my previous countersink drill bit. So on Black Friday, one of the stores had these on sale, super cheap. And so this is a number 8 one right here, and we're gonna set this up. These are all the parts that you need. The bottom, you need 3 of these, 14.75 by 7.25 by 3/4, 21.75 by 1.5 by 3/4, and 16.25. This is the end piece by 1.5 by 3/4. And then these are the under supports, 22.5 by 2.5 by 3/4. This could be 1.5 or 2.5. I just happen to have these 2.5 pieces, and they're the underneath support. And the way that this will go together, these two will be on the bottom afterwards. You put the end piece in here like this. The side pieces go over here and over here. And then your internal pieces go in like this. And then after this is all put together, this will go up underneath. I will be using number 8 1 5/8 T35 for my screws. I use Tight Bond 3 for my glue, and I'm going to be using my new Irwin countersink that I just got and set up, and it looks like this. And I'll probably use some clamps. I'll get started here in a second. So this is how I plan to clamp it. Notice that here I'm pulling this piece of wood and this piece of wood into the end board. And the same over here. I'm pulling both of these together back into here. want this gap to be as small as possible, this gap as small as possible, and everything come together. And now I'm ready to apply the glue. Run low on glue. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit on the edge here. Probably some would say you shouldn't put glue on that edge, but I'm going to go ahead and put some there. And then the glue will go along the edge, along here, and along the edge along here, and here, and here, and along the edge here. Alrighty, put these pieces down into place. Also put my clamps on. I'm going to put this up under here. Make sure it's good and flat. I'm going to release the pressure here just a second so that the other clamp can do its job. All right, I'm ready to drill my pilot holes and screw in the parts. Well, that's the first time I've used that. I saw some smoke. So I'll probably need to make sure that I put a screw in each one of these pieces of wood on both sides, and then that should be done for that part. Let me do that. So I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping this bottom side level with the bottom of these pieces of wood even with this. And I'm using the hammer a little bit, trying to press it a little bit. I think one of these is warped just a little bit, a little cup in it. So I'm trying to, so I occasionally give this a little tap. Now that's a little level and it's okay on the bottom. So before I do this, before I put a screw in there, I want to make sure that it's even on the bottom as best it can be anyway. All right, I'm gonna put a screw in it. That was hot. All right, I'll do the other side. I'll be right back. Okay, all the screws are in, and it's kind of okay. Let me show you what I was struggling with here. The problem is that all I buy stuff in the coal stack, which is half price, which is fine, but then I have to deal with the issues that cheap wood yields. And here's what I've come up with. So on this side, this should be smooth, and you can see that here there's a little bump, and this is low because it's cupped, and this is hot, this is sticking out, and over here the same, this is kind of sticking up, and this is, see how that's sticking up right there. Now I can, oh, I didn't put a screw there, so I can still push that down a little bit to get that in. So I didn't put a screw here, which I thought I did, but I'll be able to push that back into place there. The next step then is the reason that this needs to be flat is that we're going to attach these on the bottom here like this. All right, let me fix this. Be right back. So it's not perfect. You can see a little edge here, a little edge there. You're off at, 32nd or something. There's a little bit of bow in this one. But I bought this board for half price, so it was like $4.50, something like that. And then these boards are half price. They're like maybe $1.25 for the 8-foot piece. And then these pieces, same thing, half price. So, less than $10, I've got a solid bottom board, and a little bit of work, a little bit of struggle, but it should turn out okay. So the other thing that I noticed is that the measurements on this were all calculated measurements, and what I found out is that this is not really 7 1/4. It's sort of like 7 and that's like a quarter minus a 16th or something. So that means I'm 3/16 off on this length. And then also I didn't quite measure perfectly for the width. It didn't turn out to be 14 3/4 like it should have been. So it's off maybe a 16th or so, but it should be fine. So lesson learned, next time, make sure, double check my measurements. What's wrong? And I'm just using a nailer here to well, I should put glue on. So I put the glue on, and then I use the nailer just to kind of hold it in place. The nailer doesn't, the nails are only 5/8, so it doesn't really help any. It just holds it in place while I do the rest of the work. Because I don't want it to slip around once I get it in place, like when I go to do the drilling or whatever. So this turned out a little bit long. I probably should cut that. This one, yeah, this one's about right. So not sure how that works, but be sure you get your measurements right. The next one I'll double check all my measurements. I'm using the same drill and screws. I'm going through the edge up into the I'm going up into the rail. Battery's dying. That went into another screw. That one hit a screw. This one, I'm not sure what this problem is. Just ornery. I'm going to take this one out. All right, there it is. Finally, after some struggle, bottom board, solid bottom board, no dados, no ripping, using actual factory wood. And if you use real good wood, you won't have this kind of problem. But because I choose to use coal stacked wood, I end up with bows and things like that. But that can all be taken care of with caulk and paint and the like. So anyway, my name is Dale. This is Adventures in Beekeeping. Thanks for watching. God bless and have a great day. Subscribe and ring the bell.